Yo, what's going on, chat? Today's Lord's Day, so I'm going to be basing this message around my reading for the day. And today's reading came from Matthew 7. If y'all are unfamiliar with that text, it is basically Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Kind of towards the end of it, actually, is where the text I'll be focusing on today. And the little subheading would be the wise and foolish builder. This passage always sticks out to me because I feel like it really hits home, and it really makes me reflect on myself, right? Every time I read this, I think about Jenga blocks. If y'all don't know the text, Jesus is essentially explaining, well, it's a parable, but he's talking about a wise and a foolish builder. A wise builder who builds his house on, rock. A wise builder builds his house on rock, and a foolish builder builds his house on sand. And essentially, what he's getting down to is the foundation. And that's the message I want to give y'all today. What is your foundation built on? Because if your foundation is built on sand and it's rocky, as soon as any external forces, wind or rain, stuff that Jesus mentions, it'll get knocked down. Versus a wise builder who builds on rock. So when all these external forces, which are going to come, you don't have any control over them, he's prepared. Because his foundation is built on rock, it's not going nowhere. So whenever I look inwardly, and I think about this a lot, and going back to the Jenga block, like why I think about Jenga blocks is because there's always that person who goes for the bottom Jenga block, right? And that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm talking about whenever those Jenga blocks get pulled out and the entire tower is standing on one Jenga block, it makes the game 20 times harder. Every single time it makes the game harder. Because that entire tower is standing on one Jenga block. Therefore, one blow of the wind, one super heavy hand, you lose the game. So applying that into life, I have to look inwards. I gotta look at what my foundation is built on in order to really wonder where lack of motivation, lack of drive comes from, undisciplined nature, and all these things that hinder my ability to get where I'm going. I gotta look at where they come from, and that would be my foundation, which is built on laziness, which is built on comfort, lust, all these things that are so heavily rooted in my life. All it does is taint the entire tree. Because if the roots aren't good, that tree is going to wither. However, whenever I look at passages like this, I always think about Christ. Because Christ always finds a way. And what Christ will do is dig up those roots and bury his own into that soil. However, this doesn't just come, right? We have to be diligent. We have to be willing to allow him to dig those roots up. Allow him to cleanse our heart. Because if not, who's to say we won't just collapse every single time something gets a little rocky? Our foundation is just built on nothing. So as soon as we get some wind, financial problems. As soon as we get some rain, losing friends. As soon as any of these things that we have no control over start to trickle in our lives, our building collapse. And then we're down in the gutters. Now, not only do we have to worry about the external forces that are affecting us, but we got to worry about our shelter now, our safe place. Because the wind doesn't stop whenever your house is crumbled. The rain doesn't stop whenever your house is just in 1,000 pieces. You still got to deal with that, along with not having any shelter anymore. So what do we do about this? We got to understand our problem to begin with, right? We got to look into the deepest parts of ourselves, because you can't just see the roots from the surface. You're not going to see those roots staring in the mirror. No, you got to get deep into the parts of your mind where you usually don't want to explore. You got to see why I act this way, why I do the things I do. What causes me to react this way? Why am I the person that I am? Why do I do these things? You got to get to the root cause and rebuild your foundation. Because if that foundation is built on just nothing, it will collapse one way or another, whether it's in your control or not. So that's what I want to leave y'all with today. You know what I'm saying? Apply this to all aspects of your life. I don't want y'all to think of this as a Sunday sermon. Genuinely apply this to all aspects of your life. If you're undisciplined, unmotivated, lazy, struggling to get out of bed, lack of drive, turn that alarm off every time it goes off at 5 a.m. Dread going into work. Look at these things. Struggle with masturbation or pornography. Look at these things. Look at these things for what they are. Look at these things for what they are and figure out, how am I going to change this? What is my foundation built on, and what do I need to build it on? And that's what I got for y'all today. I love y'all, man. And happy Sunday, bro. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.